You know, my favorite part is I get to say, Happy Thursday. Welcome. We are growing. More folks here tonight. It's good. So tonight I wanted to take a case from the Mumonkan. It's case 39. And the koan goes like this. A monk once asked Unman a question and started to say, A monk once wanted to ask Unman a question and started to say, the light serenely shines over the whole universe. Before he'd even finished the first line, Unman suddenly interrupted. Isn't that the poem of Chosetsu Shusai? The monk answered. Yes, it is. Unman said, You've missed it. Later, Master Shishin took up this koan and said, Now tell me, why has this monk missed it? So we have a monk talking to Unman, who features prominently in many of the Zen koans. And he shows up to ask a question, right? Like any of you might do, right? You might say, hey, I saw that in the Heart Sutra it says, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. Nope, you've missed it, right? How would you feel if I interrupted you like that, right? So, but of course, Mumonkan is including this in the koan curriculum. Why? Like, what lesson is he trying to teach us? And so someone has showed up with some pre-existing idea, some pre-existing writing, and right out of the gate, the teacher's like, nope, you missed it. What do we do when we get on these cushions? Like, why do we have all these optimal circumstances, a quiet space, and rules about not talking to each other, and nice tuffets to sit on, right? So we can look at ourselves, so that we can go within. And so what Unman is doing is he's immediately turning the arrow back around, turning the light back around. Like, don't bring me quotes. Bring me you. Sometimes I'll say to people, come as you are and I'll meet you there, right? Or, if you don't come as you are, I'll meet you there, but then I won't be very helpful because I'll meet you somewhere that you're not. Come as you are, right? So how often do we do that? I don't know about you, but I find myself I show up in all sorts of circumstances in my life, and I'm it's like I'm in my head editing. Like, what version of me am I going to be presenting today, right? There's the work persona and the therapist persona and the good husband persona and the father persona and the son persona, all these versions. And that's okay, right? There's a Zen teacher version too, right? It would be weird if you came into Daison and I was like, right? Right? No, you come in, what am I like? I'm like, that's kind of what you expect, and that's appropriate. So, a very worthwhile question, right? Talk about the inmates running the asylum or the children running the classroom, right? Kind of like children running the classroom. It's less insulting to the things in my mind. But plus I was a school teacher for a long time, so I like that. But all of our thoughts, right? All of our versions of who we are, all of our self-expectations about who we're supposed to be. It's okay that there's children in the classroom, and it's useful, right? They're there to learn. But if they run the show, it's going to create all kinds of struggle and suffering, because you're going to end up trying to defend some version of who you are against something that challenges it. Right? It's a story I like to tell sometimes. Many, many years ago, I moved to Boulder, Colorado for the purpose of moving into a Zen center that was there called the Great Mountain Zen Center. And right when I moved, but Boulder in the early 2000s was this kind of, probably still is, this sort of mecca for spiritual seeking young people. And so I was going to go out there and find myself. And so within the first few days of being there, we went to this vegan restaurant. And so we go in, and there was this gentleman, and he looked exactly like you would expect the proprietor of a vegan restaurant in 2000 to look. right? He's very like cotton clothes and sort of hippie and really, hi, welcome, sit wherever you'd prefer, right? Super chill, like quiet voice. Oh, the smoked tofu is excellent, right? That was the whole vibe, right? It was a nice restaurant. It was nice. I'm not like harshing on the man. Like, he ran a vegan restaurant. He had kind of a hippie vegan vibe, and it was fine. So anyway, so we ate food, and then he rang me out. But when the check came, I had like $15 worth of food, and he rang me out for $150. He made like a decimal mistake. And so I was like looking at the check, and I was like, hey, this is incorrect. Can you, fix it? And so he goes over to the cash register. He's like, of course, I'm so sorry. And he starts working with the little, credit card machine. And, having worked retail myself, I know that like once you void a transaction, like it ceases to exist. And so then like you can't do any more actions on that transaction because now it's gone. So he voids the transaction. So now, I'm getting my money back and the transaction has disappeared, but he doesn't realize it, right? He thinks that he hasn't done it yet. And so he's still pushing buttons, trying to get like but now the thing's just going, like it's not cooperating. And so it's like, I'm so sorry, let me correct that. Then out of nowhere, fuck! like that intensity, just like, and like he slams the thing, at which point I'm like, I like tear the thing, and I'm like, I think we got it. I think we got it, right? So why do I tell that story, right? With the screaming curse words, right? Because we all do that, right? We use a version of ourselves until it doesn't work anymore, and then we get upset. And so what the Dharma is offering is this notion of like, what if you didn't do that? Like, what if you didn't come up with a version of you to present? Right? What if you trusted that if you just showed up and were alert and present, that what was needed would come forth? Right? That when the baby was there, you'd be like, oh, kuch, 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 kuch. And then, when the dog was there, oh, he's like, oh boy. And then when someone is struggling and sad, oh my gosh, are you okay? And maybe you cry with them. We don't actually have to show up as anyone. And so Unman is suggesting, right? Instead of coming into Daison with some convoluted spiritual poem that you read, come as you are. Like, show me what you're working with. Let's work on it. Because that's enough, right? Like we are both enough to meet the challenges of the day, and the challenges that come within us are certainly enough content to work on within our sitting. And the way we do that work, right, is we allow what comes up to come up, and then we sit with it. It sounds super simple until you try sitting with something that's hard. That's why this goes for years. It's because it doesn't end. The difference between a person who's practiced for a long time and someone who doesn't practice at all is that, both of them have things come up which are problematic and difficult and confusing and diluted and unhealthy. But if you've sat for a long time, then you're like, oh, look at that. And then you can because it doesn't mean anything about you, right? Like the first set of koans many of you are working on are a lot about this idea of transcending the self. Like there's no fixed self, right? So if I have a bad habit, that bad habit comes out of my conditioning. So it's not me. It doesn't have to mean anything about me. It doesn't mean I'm stupid or smart, or it doesn't mean I should be ashamed, right? It just is. There's just a set of behaviors and conditioning that I have that aren't serving me, that arose from my karma, from the causes and effects I experienced in the past, and now they're not helping. So I can just look at that and go, And there might be some feelings that go with that, or there might be a sense of relief or relaxation or tension. There's all kinds of things that can come. But going through that process is the process of waking up. And the opposite of that is, well, I just am who I am the way I am, and if you don't like it, you can F off, right? This is who I'm gonna be in every circumstance. It's like, well, cool, but some circumstances aren't gonna match who you've decided to be. So then what happens, right? You become unskillful, we create suffering, you become shut down. And the funny part is you can feel it, right? Like you can instantly feel it. You know, if someone's like, we can feel it when we're open, we can feel it when we're closed. And we can feel it when we have an agenda. We know there's all this wisdom. There's so much wisdom in there. Like you don't have to do anything. It's already there. It's crazy. We already come pre-installed with all this awesome software. You know, it's like, it's preloaded that we can be with what is. With just absolutely stunning awareness. Like that's our birthright. We don't have to add anything to it. Because, you know, the monk that Mumonkan's yelling at's not wrong, right? He says, the light serenely shines over the whole universe. Like, that's true. Nothing is separate. The light does shine over the whole universe. It's not that the poem's wrong. It's just that, you know, Mumonkan saw something like, why are we talking about poetry? What's up, man? Come on. Like, be real with me. So that's what I ask of you, right? Be real with yourself. You know, if you do that, what will happen is that whatever it is you're being real with will arise and then dissolve. Because that's what literally everything does. It arises and dissolves, arises and dissolves. And becoming a master of that process is the process of becoming enlightened. Just allowing for what is. Okay, I think that's probably enough.